like that? You like that?
Feels great, baby.
Hey, we're back for another week of the You Like That Feels Great Baby podcast. We're going to recap a little bit of week 4 in the NFL. We're mostly going to preview week 5 because we're a couple days late. We're so close to Thursday Night Football and the start of week 5. We want to do like kind of a deep dive into next week's games rather than a huge recap of last week, given that we're coming to you a little bit later this week. Joey, we're almost a quarter of the way through the season already, which is absolutely nuts. It feels like week 1 was like 5 days ago. It's absolutely insane. Let's take a look at what's on tap for week 5. I cannot believe it, but we're actually, for the first time this year, we're going to start with the Vikes. We've started with the Niners every week because you've been unstoppable, but we're off the Schneid. Vikings actually have a record now. They're 1-3. We're playing Kansas City this week. That's our reward for beating Carolina. Is now you got Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift coming to town. Probably not Taylor Swift. 3 in a row would be a little excessive. But
she might be a huge fan. We don't know.
She could be a big Kirk guy or Kirk gal. You know, who knows?
I don't think she shops at Kohl's.
No, I don't think so either. I think she's got a little bit more extensive wardrobe than Kirko and his Kohl's cash. So the Vikes are off the Schneid. Running game came back. Defense came alive. Harrison Smith probably had his best ever game as a Viking, which is insane because this is, by all accounts, probably his final season. He had 3 sacks, 14 tackles, a forced fumble that led to a touchdown. Incredible game for probably the only Hall of Famer on the Vikings right now. Jefferson can get there, but Harrison Smith was maybe the best game for the Vikes. And Kansas City kind of looked beatable last week against the Jets. So as a neutral observer, if you look at Kansas City favored by 4 going to Minnesota next week, given the events of last week, what are you looking at in that game?
It's tough. It's a tough team to play, trying to put up a win streak. Yeah, I mean, the Jets are a pretty decent matchup against the Chiefs. I think, just looking back to last week, because they can get home with 4 guys. But I mean, I think the Chiefs' defense is better than what they've had in the Mahomes era. But I used era like. Taylor, it made me think of Taylor Swift. I'm so sick of Taylor. I'm so sick of Taylor's in the Mahomes era.
Oh
God.
She's in her Kelce era. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I think Minnesota will be able to score on them. I really do, because that game's in Minnesota. Yeah, I think they'll be able to score. Will they be able to stop them? I'm not sure. Probably no. But I think it'll be.
The total on the game is 52.
Yeah, I think it'll be a high-scoring game. Again, turnovers. I mean, Minnesota's a lot better when they're not turning the ball over. I mean, it's at least 1, if not 2, every game. I mean, I think it was like 3 and 4. It was like 7 after 2 games, and I think, yeah, I mean, they don't turn the ball over at home, and I mean, I think they'll be able to score, and it's just, can their defense get a couple stops?
Yeah, Flores.
Harrison Smith plays like I mean, I saw the highlights. Holy crap!
Yeah, he got 2 sacks in the final 3 plays of the game. I mean, absolute stud performance from I believe he's 33 now. It's incredible how well he's playing. The crazy thing is Flores is actually blitzing more than the Giants defensive coordinator Wink Martindale, which is kind of terrifying. Like, I love blitzing. I love a 3-4 defense. This is great. But when you watch that game, it's like, yes, it worked because Bryce Young is small. He's a rookie. He doesn't know the offense that well. I don't know if
terrible.
you can do that against Mahomes. Yeah, he's not quite good at football yet. Against Mahomes, probably got to back off a little bit and put more guys in the secondary, or you're going to get absolutely cooked. So we'll see how that goes this week.
I've always thought about it. I don't know why. Like, I mean, you know, like in basketball, sometimes they'll just be like, 1, maybe even 2 guys just follow this guy around. Everyone else just play a zone. Like, I don't know why teams don't put 2 guys on Travis Kelce. Like, literally, like, guard him like a basketball player. Like, put 2 guys on line of scrimmage, follow him around, and make Kadarius Toney catch the ball. Make it. I mean, you might be playing a little bit like, you know, a soccer team with a red card or 2 out, but like with their team, I mean, yeah, I think it's worth it. I mean,
I think we saw in the Jets game on Sunday Night Football, if you bracket Kelce, I mean, Mahomes had 3 awful throws in that game, like two, like just of the worst picks of his career, and neither of them were targeting Kelsey. And I was like, hey, if you bracket him, if you say, hey, we're going to shove you at the line, and once you get past 5 yards, there's another guy there whose entire job it is to stop you, maybe a chance here. That the Vikings are only 4-point dogs. I thought,
like, let's put 2 Matthew Dellavedovas on Travis Kelsey and just follow him around and make his life miserable.
Annoy the shit out of Lance Stevenson on LeBron.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, traditional defense isn't working against him most games, but I mean, it's harder to do when they had better receivers, when they had Tyreek, and they had maybe even last year with Juju, and you know, I mean, this year the Chiefs receivers are well below average.
Yeah, your cousin Sky Moore not doing a great job.
No, he's not.
No.
Sky's the limit, but
your other cousin DJ Moore has been doing quite well, but
he's better.
Tough time for Sky Moore.
You know?
Niners last week, ho-hum, another win, another cover. It looked a little iffy there at the start of the third quarter, but they pulled away at the end. Basically a perfect performance through 4 games. A lot of talk about CMC for MVP. Big game this week. Niners are on fire. Purdy still has not lost a regular season game. This is the first huge test in the Shanahan-Purdy era, in the regular season at least. Sunday Night Football. Dallas is coming to Levi's. Niners are favored by 3.5. You worried about the Dallas D in this game, or are you very confident going into this one given the lack of injuries?
I wouldn't say I'm very confident. I mean, I'm confident the Niners team wins, but no, I mean, Purdy, other than up at the short week against the Giants game a couple weeks ago, I thought his worst performance was against Dallas in the playoffs. I mean, Dallas is so damn fast on defense, and I thought that was a bit of a shock to not only him but just the whole offense in general. Do I have confidence in Dallas's offense to go and score as many points? I don't. But that's why I think it'll play out very similar to last year's playoff game. I think it'll be lower scoring. I think whatever team does not turn the ball over, and Purdy's been, you know, that's been his number one thing.
Only 20 of 21 last week for
Purdy
for 280.
Yeah, like it was ho-hum last. It really was. It's like you look at his stats. Yeah, 20 of 21, and like he was throwing the ball downfield. Like it was not. He threw a couple screens. McCaffrey, McCaffrey leaps over a guy. Like, yeah, I mean he's all pro McCaffrey, but I mean Brock Purdy he is so accurate and stands in there. I mean Dallas is so different. Dallas is a lot different than Arizona, but
I was thinking about this the other day. I heard this on a sports betting podcast. There is a chance that maybe 5-10 years from now we look back at Brock Purdy being picked 252nd in the draft will go down as one of the worst evaluations of a player, in NFL history. If you're like, hey, there was a guy who's capable of being one of the 5 or 6 most accurate passers in the NFL, and he's available to every team 7 times, and they all said no. It's wild. Every time I watch him, I'm like, how is this happening?
Yeah, I saw today Kyle was asked, like, what do you say to people that think he's a system quarterback, like a product of your system? And he basically said, poo-poo the question, like, watch the tape. Like, he's played when he's hurt. He's played when he's been blitzed. He's played when they've dropped everyone in coverage. Like, it's to the point where, like, I think even if he does have, like, just his worst performance Sunday, people might say, oh, primetime game, oh, we can't beat the good teams, like, oh, when the Niners are down. I'm to the point where if he does have a poor game, like, it's just going to be like he had a bad game. Like, not like, oh,
because
this
it
guy
hasn't happened yet.
Like, if you go, I mean, how many is he played? Okay, I think he played like 6 or 7 last year, the playoff couple, like 9. Played 11 or 12 games, and every game he's finished the game he's won. And most of them are multiple touchdowns and no turnovers. Like, what do you want?
Relatively painless victories.
And he's, by the way, he's making pesos. Like,
yeah, he has a roommate.
Yeah, and the roommate is like, I think he's on the practice squad. Like, he's not even like, he's just like, I think he's got 2 roommates. I could be wrong, but I know he had 2. I think he's down to 1, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's a huge game. I mean, it's arguably the biggest game in the NFC this year.
This is the first. I mean,
I know Dallas plays Philly twice every year, and I know the Niners go to Philly later, and the Niners games against Seattle will be big.
I think after the events of the Buffalo-Miami game last week, we have to say, that was the marquee matchup of the early season. After watching that game, you're like, no, this is the heavyweight bout. Dallas at San Francisco on Sunday Night Football. It's going to be a good one. And watch out for Collinsworth, man. I mean, after his fellatio of fucking Zach Wilson last week, he is game for anything. And this one, he could be like, oh, my God, Brock Purdy. He is the greatest.
Here's the guy.
I mean, Collinsworth in rare form last week. Let's see how he does on SNF for an
The
actual
only crappy thing
top
about
game.
it being Sunday night is I'm all excited for it, but then it's the more I want that to come, the more Monday and it's back to work. But yeah,
that's all the TikToks I get too are the official anthem of the Sunday Scaries, and it's do 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 do. I'm like, yeah, I remember
it's
as a kid every time I would
cool,
hear that.
If it's big game, your team's in it, and then your team, say they win, you blast that Carrie Underwood max volume on the TV, you just yell at a big screen you're just so jacked for this, and then it takes one or two drives and you're either oh my God, it's gonna be a great night, or it's this is the end of myself.
Well, it's been a lot more victorious watching of football for you than dejected in the past 12 Brock Purdy starts, so I have a lot of hope for San Francisco in that game. You'll see later in my picks. I think they're going to be one of the selections. Thursday Night Football, Chicago at Washington, disgusting game. I don't want to talk about either of those teams. Washington, they lost in a hard-fought game at Philly where they lost in overtime. And Chicago...
Super decision by Ron Rivera.
Yes. Yeah.
I would have gone for it.
We'll get to that later. Obviously, Riverboat Ron with his not going for two after scoring a touchdown as time expires. And then, of course, your boy, Matt Eberflus. We will get to him later. The London game this week coming up. So it's Jacksonville is technically the road team in this matchup against Buffalo. Buffalo favored by 5.5. Earlier this year, they released game of the year lines on betting websites, and they were like, "Hey, you can bet on the London games, 2 months before the season." This was Buffalo by 2. It's now Buffalo by 5.5. I think this is actually one of the better games of the week, and I will be getting up for this one. Buffalo looked unstoppable last week, but Jacksonville has been in London for the last week, so technically Jacksonville's definitely got some home field work in here. What do you think of that line, Buffalo minus 5.5? They're probably the best team in the AFC in terms of results to this point. Does that seem fair?
Yeah. I might have been wrong on Buffalo. I was pretty low on Buffalo coming into the season. They put a beat down on Miami Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Offense, defense, special teams, coaching, everything. Josh Allen played like an MVP Sunday. Going to London, you always never really know with travel, especially with Jacksonville. I assume Jacksonville stayed there.
That's what I read.
So I think that if this game the schedule is technically supposed to be, Jaguars at Buffalo, it's a huge advantage to Jaguars. This game's in London and not in Buffalo. Because if it was in Buffalo, I think the line would be bigger. I think it's fair line. Yeah,
this is one that I guess I lean Buffalo a little bit. It's not going to make it into my top 5 picks. The Monday or the Sunday morning slate, not a lot of great games. They really, after they flexed a couple games into the late afternoon window, including the Vikings Chiefs, which that's been there the whole time, but that's now kind of the marquee game for CBS. Tennessee minus 1.5 at Indianapolis. This is one that intrigued me. I thought I would want to put a bet on Indy. They're right on the line. I don't know if I want to go with them yet. Incredibly hard-fought performance last week at home against the Rams. I thought Anthony Richardson was a stud in the fourth quarter in that game, but they did start slow for a reason. They did not play well. Apparently Jonathan Taylor is a possibility maybe for this game, maybe next week. For me, this game is I would bet Indy or nothing. What do you think? Tennessee minus 1.5 at Indy.
Yeah, I would not bet Tennessee.
Being a favorite on the road.
I think the Colts are solid. I mean, tough start, but came all the way back from 23-0 against pretty decently good team in the Rams. Yeah, I think Indy's quarterback is way more dynamic than Ryan Tannehill. I know they just beat the Bengals, but that's not saying much right now. Yeah, I'm the same as you. I'd either bet the Colts or nobody.
Right. For me, the biggest dud last week, I think, was New England. I mean, some people will say Cincy. We'll get to them in a bit, but New England lost 38-3. 2 defensive touchdowns for Dallas. Belichick's worst loss of his career. Mac Jones was as bad as you can possibly be. I think he was worse last week than Zach Wilson was in any of his previous starts this season. Really shocking to see, this dynasty of the Patriots not only end, but now they're like an absolute laughingstock. They play at home this week, and they're favored by 1.5 against New Orleans, who clearly brought Derek Carr back too early. Carr, I believe his average air yards on
I was going to bring
was
that up. Because he had like I saw he had a decent completion, and then it was like barely 100 yards, but he completed like quite a bit of passes.
Yeah. So I saw this stat today. This is one of the wildest stats I've ever seen. The record for fewest yards when catching 13 or more passes was 70 yards by Marshall Faulk. Until last week, when Alvin Kamara caught 13 for 33 yards. Shattered the record. Like, clearly Carr wasn't healthy enough to throw the ball down the field. So the Saints are compromised. That's why New England's favored by 1.5 in this game, despite laying an absolute egg last week. I want no part of this game. Both these teams suck. Both these teams have major problems. Nothing to bet on in this game, right? Other than the under, maybe.
Nope, nothing to bet. I couldn't bet the Patriots right now if they were playing against Alabama right now. I think the Patriots are god-awful. I think Mac Jones, I mean, he was horrendous Sunday.
You called it before the season on the pass.
This is one of the ones I was right. I mean, big picture, it's starting to get really dicey for Bill Belichick. Because, like, you are now turning into what you were before Tom Brady. Like,
except now he has, like, family members on his staff and nepotism hires. This is getting really rough.
Just, like, for a guy who has won so much, I mean, 6 Super Bowls is obviously, like, borderline untouchable. I mean, not just for another coach to reach it or surpass it, but I mean just, like, you don't even criticize somebody who's, like, won that much. But, like, damn. Like, I mean, I'm watching, the talk shows and the pods this week, and it's like the heat is starting to, like, hello, dude. Like, you can't be, like, just complete ass. Like, I think he'd get so much more, like, leeway if he was, like, finishing, like, decently. Mac Jones was improving, like, even just, like, the coaching staff wasn't, like, a complete cluster some years.
Yeah.
It's awful. It's off. They look awful, and
they're lucky to be 1-3. They probably
they're
should
lucky.
have lost.
They're lucky Rodgers got hurt because that'd be 2 more L's to the Jets.
Yeah, they'd be like 2-15. They may get a couple W's when they've already beat the Jets once in New York, and they'll probably beat them when they come to New England at the end of the year. But man, tire fire in New England. Moving on to another game in that 10 a.m. Western window. This is one that I am looking to bet. Pittsburgh is catching 4.5 points at home against Baltimore. So Baltimore going on the road after a couple of great performances. Last week against Cleveland, they won, I believe it was 28-3. Dorian Thompson-Robinson played. Watson was out. It was still very impressive. I think this is a buy low point on Pittsburgh and a sell high on Baltimore. I do like Baltimore. I picked them to make the playoffs. I like John Harbaugh. I like Lamar Jackson. I like the infrastructure there. But this is one of those bets that it's a body language bet, and everybody knows we're a body language podcast. I saw Mike Tomlin last week after that loss as mad as I've ever seen him, and he's been in some memes for how mad he gets in these post-game press conferences. Like, we do not care.
That's just a great one. That's just a great one.
Yeah. So Tomlin is pissed, and I think changes are coming to that team. I think he's going to play some more young guys. I think he was pissed at the effort last week, especially in the second half, getting absolutely throttled by Houston. Pittsburgh plus 4.5. I'm thinking I might add that to my picks. Obviously, Baltimore's been really good this year. Does it scare you to take Pittsburgh even though they're at home, given how bad Pickett's been playing and that he's coming off an injury? Or is this one of those where it's like, hey, slugfest, low scoring, Tomlin versus Harbaugh, take the points?
Nope. I think Pittsburgh's terrible. Another one. I don't want to say I was wrong on the Ravens. I just, again, like Miami, I just did not have any faith that like Lamar could play 16, 17 games. But if he did, yeah, they're damn good. And they're winning games right now with a ton of injuries everywhere. Like, it's been impressive. And the way that they've won, I mean, this is kind of like a knockout blow in week 5, like to the whole division. They would have wins on the road over Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, Cincinnati is just in shambles right now. Pittsburgh's might be in bigger shambles. And Cleveland, they're on a bye this week, and I believe, the Niners go to Cleveland the week after that. Mm-hmm. And I heard some rumblings like players were a little unhappy Deshaun didn't play. There's like a little, apparently he was telling everyone he was going to play all week, and then he doesn't. So who knows how much.
Strange situation there with Cleveland. That was apparently the beat reporter told everybody, because there was all this speculation Watson's not going to play, and the beat reporter, I think her name is Mary Kay Cabot there, she's like the
you heard from her?
Reporter.
I heard from somebody else.
Yeah, well, she said he's playing, no worries at all, he's playing. He told
I saw
me he's
someone
playing.
I was an article that someone quoted, like it was because it was a guy. I know who Mary Kay, like I remember her face on like some articles, like she's been around, she knows her stuff, been around for a while. But there's some other guy I never heard of, but they're like, oh, he's like the Ravens beat guy for The Athletic, I think. And he's like, yeah. Or the Browns, excuse me. And he's like, yeah, Deshaun told everyone he was playing all week.
Yeah, he's playing. And then, boom.
And then you just
Sunday
get waxed
at 8:30
at home.
And I was like, what?
But
and
anyways,
Yeah, you and I, we thought DTR was going to be a stud.
Yeah, okay.
Not so much.
I was like, I saw that. I was like, wrong. I was wrong. No, I mean, for like the Ravens, I think this is. I mean, I picked Tomlin to win Coach of the Year before this. That could be a disaster. But I mean, I don't care how mad he gets. I don't care how rah he gets. Like, you ain't gonna change the players like that much. And barring unforeseen injuries or whatever, like I don't see how their offense cannot move the ball at all.
Yeah, there's a reason Baltimore's favored like that, and that's because of, I mean, Pittsburgh's offense is so bad. They've been clamoring, the Pittsburgh fans, week after week for their offensive coordinator, Matt Canada, to get fired.
They hate him.
Still hasn't been. They hate his guts. And we'll see. I mean, this is kind of one of those kitchen sink games.
It is. That's the only thing. That's the only thing that makes me like think this isn't going to be like what I think it's going to be. Is like, okay, Pittsburgh borderline, I mean, has to win this game. They have to show something.
23-7 Baltimore is kind of what you're looking at, right? You're like, Pittsburgh ain't going to score a lot of points. Yeah, you're scaring me off that one. But here's one I'm definitely very comfortable with. Our guy, DeMeco Ryans, and the 2-2 Houston Texans going to Atlanta, who's -2 after their loss in London. They're 2-2. They're favored by 2. I mean, that makes no sense to me. Atlanta is playing like shit right now. They can't throw the ball. Ritter's been awful. Houston is on fire. They just had a game where they just absolutely waxed a Mike Tomlin coach team. Really like Houston +2 there. We're all in on the DeMeco train here. We'll get to that later, but you got to feel comfortable with this pick, right?
Yeah,
Houston
I mean,
+2.
I think the Texans are better than what Vegas thinks they are, and I think Atlanta sucks.
Yeah, Atlanta can run the ball, but other than that, I mean, they really don't have much going for them right now. It was a relatively easy, painless win for Jacksonville, who wasn't exactly playing good football.
Yeah, I mean, they did not. I think they won with like their C+ game.
And Atlanta, I mean, their wins look worse and worse the further we go into the season, so we'll see how they hold up here against Houston. Carolina at Detroit. Detroit is favored by 10 after their huge statement-making win on Thursday Night Football against the Packers last week. The division is the Lions right now. Like, if the Vikings somehow beat Kansas City, maybe it's game on, but for right now, the Lions absolutely control that division. Carolina struggled in their game against the Vikings. I don't really see how they're going to score many points, even against a bad Detroit defense. Detroit's going to score points in bunches.
I don't think their defense is that bad.
Yeah, I think they showed up last week against Green Bay. I think the game against Seattle maybe was more of an indicator of how good Seattle's offense is, but Detroit's statement making win last week.
But you texted me about their schedule. I was like, I looked at it. I'm like, we keep talking about Philly and Niners and Dallas, but like if Detroit doesn't lose like the couple games against really good like that they have, like they think they play Dallas late in the season, and they might play. I mean, the division games are sometimes tough. Maybe they lose to like Minnesota or Green Bay, but like they went to Green Bay and like just killed them.
And I remember looking at their schedule and being like, oh well, they're gonna have to play Kansas City at some point. Oh, they already did in week 1 and they beat them. Like this is gonna be
like
pretty
yeah.
wild.
I mean they're looking at least at 13-4.
Yeah, it's an incredibly easy schedule that they've gotten through to this point. Probably, I would say 2 of their 4 most difficult games, 1-1. So it's like, man, they could really run the table here and go something like, 15-2. Crazy to say for the Lions, but I mean, they are just looking really great at this point. I think they'll roll through Carolina. Miami -11 at home against the Giants. That game got moved.
They might
from
put up
10 a.m.
80
to 1 p.m. I mean, have you ever seen a more listless team that had like some kind of expectation going into the season than the Giants? Like, I believe Jones was sacked 10 times in that first game against the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football, and in this game he was sacked 11 times by the Seahawks. He's just getting battered out there. That offensive line has no hope. I can't believe that this is only 11. I thought it'd be 14 and a half.
It should be a college football line. It should be like -22.5.
It's like William and Mary at Alabama. You're like, oh boy.
Yeah, just like we're not even doing it.
And Miami's pissed after last week
Yeah.
in Buffalo too.
In Miami, yeah, that's oh boy.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot. I'm just now thinking, my Pittsburgh bet, you scared me off of it. Maybe I go with Miami now. Here's the one that I wanted to talk about. This is one of the craziest lines in the history of football. So earlier this week, so basically the games end, the majority of games end around 4:30-ish West Coast time. It's at that point that a lot of these sports books try to roll their lines out quick so they can get some early money, move the line a little bit, and then balance it out. So I went on and I was like, okay, Cincinnati after that shit-ass performance, going on the road to Arizona. I was like, okay, Arizona looked pretty good for most of the game against San Francisco. They beat Dallas the week before. Dobbs looks good. Connor's running hard. I guessed that the line would be either pick'em or maybe like Arizona -1. It opened Cincinnati -7.5. One of the craziest. I didn't bet it at the time. I was like, oh, that's got to be wrong. Like I'm gonna click on it on the Bovada thing, and it's gonna be like, that's wrong. So for whatever reason, I didn't bet it. I wish I would have. It's now Cincinnati -3, which to me is still way off, right? Like this game should be pick'em at least, if not Arizona favored.
It just shows you like how strong some of these like just initial ties to what we think teams are. Because I mean, yeah, before the season, you could have said this line would have been Cincinnati minus like 9.5.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so 7.5. It's like, okay, it's just this never ending belief that they're going to turn it around. And it's like, at what point does Vegas like kind of jump ship on the Bengals? And
right.
It doesn't look like it's this week. If they opened it at minus 7.5,
but even at 3 now, I don't
unless
like it. They think Burrow is healthy now, which he's clearly not.
Clearly, he said he was, but he doesn't look like it. Yeah, I probably would. I probably would bet Arizona. Probably would.
Yeah, it's absolutely shocking to me that despite what we've seen from the Bengals, they're still getting this much respect. Another late game that's actually turned out to be a great one that before the season people probably thought wouldn't be. Philadelphia minus 4.5 at the Rams in LA. Obviously, part of this handicap always has to be, hey, there's going to be 50,000 Eagle fans at this game. But another one where I kind of look at the home team, like obviously Philly has been, lights out for the most part in terms of winning the game. But if you watch the games themselves, they probably should not be 4-0. And the Rams, that loss against the Bengals stings so bad because they probably should be 3-1. If I was to bet a team here, it would be the Rams. I'm probably going to stay away. But this is a sneakily good matchup, especially if Stafford's healthy and possibly Cooper Kupp's back.
Yeah, I mean, it turned out to be a really good one. It all comes down if the Rams can have any sort of running game, which is difficult against Philly and in their front. Yeah, I would, if I was betting this game, I would probably just stay away because I don't love the way Philly's playing right now. Being in LA, like you said, doesn't really matter. Yeah, and boy, Stafford, if he's healthy, if their offensive, and the thing is, I don't think their offensive line's gonna hold up against Philly, but I mean, yeah.
Shout out to my guy Kyron Williams, who has saved my fantasy football season across 3 different teams. That guy, out of nowhere, he's better than Akers ever was. He's better than Sony Michel ever was. Great player, and they find him him on the scrap heap.
Yeah, running back value. We want to get paid. There's also this guy, who's free. Anyways, I mean, if Stafford can be healthy, and here comes Cooper Kupp and Puka Doncic, and I mean, they're solid. Can they stop Philly? I don't know. I think that'd be difficult, but 4.5
I wanted to bet
sounds
this
right.
one at the over/under was set at 46 to start the week. It's up to 51. People are betting the over on that all over the place. I think Philly's defense, as we saw against the Vikings, they gave up 28. Washington, they gave up 27. I mean, the defense is down from what it was last year for sure, with Gannon being gone. You know, and them losing Hargrave. It's not as good a defense. Obviously, the offensive line is still insanely good. We'll see how that one goes. We got to talk about the fucking Nathaniel Hackett Bowl, the dumpster fire bowl. Jets at Denver.
It's amazing how like just a shit ass game could be like, oh, can't wait to watch this. That's the NFL. Like, yeah.
Different in all other sports. Like, nobody wants to watch like the Detroit Tigers against the Pittsburgh Pirates in a baseball game, but you give these 2 1-3 teams a spot on TV, everybody's going to watch it. Jets at Denver. Denver's favored by 1.5. Wilson's been fine, and by that I mean both Wilsons in this game. I mean, Zach Wilson was good, actually, for the first time in a long time in last week's game against Kansas City on Sunday Night Football. And then Russell Wilson's been fine in basically all 4 games this year. The Denver defense, I just saw this stat on Sunday, they, through 4 games, are on pace to be the worst defense in the history of DVOA, which basically tracks how your defense plays compared to other teams, other eras, normalizes all that, and then just says, hey, given who you played, given the era you played in, Denver's the worst ever through 4 weeks. They made Justin Fields look like a beast last week. I was shocked that anybody was favored in this game. I thought it would just be Pick'em because nobody knows who's going to win this game. Anybody who says, oh yeah, so-and-so is a lock, Jets are a lock, Denver's a lock, they're lying to you. Like, this is a toss-up game between 2 really screwed up coaching staffs and franchises right now.
Yeah, no, I'm pulling for the Jets. God, Denver's such a tire fire, but like you said, Russ has not been the problem. You know, their defense is awful, just awful, and they cut Bradley Chubb. So see if that makes a difference. Probably not. Yeah, no, I if this was ever a game, Zach Wilson was gonna.
Randy Gregory, we should say.
Oh yeah, wrong guy. I was like, that sounds wrong. I said it out loud. I was like, they cut him.
He plays for Miami.
Yeah, that's right. Because we'll leave Trey Lance alone, but I think they got him with that pick, one of the ones we sent him. Anyways, if there was ever a day to get Zach Wilson going, it would be this one. Yeah,
the whole Nathaniel Hackett coaching the offense against Sean Payton and his woeful defense, that'll be a storyline. But like in terms of like actually watching the game, I mean, everybody's attention's going to be on the Philly and Rams and Vikings and Chiefs games. So this one will be on the back burner, but it could be one of those ones we talk about all week if, one team blows out the other. So
could you imagine if the Jets blow out Denver with Zach Wilson?
Like, say Zach Wilson puts up 30 points. Say it's like 30-13. I mean, we're right back where we were when it was 21-0 Bears in the first half last week, where it's like, can they fire Sean Payton? Like, financially, would that be something they could do? Like, we're going to have that conversation if that game goes that way. Absolutely wild.
Yep.
Monday Night Football next week, Green Bay at Las Vegas. Again, another one is going to be all Packers fans because there's no home field advantage in Vegas. Packers are favored by 1 on the road here. This is a game where I think it's kind of a statement game for the Packers. Like, if you intend to have any shot of making the playoffs, you have to win this one. Vegas has been bad the last 3 weeks. They've slid to 1-3 after a 1-point win at home, or on the road, against the Broncos. Doesn't look impressive at all anymore.
No.
So
the Raiders are a borderline just dumpster fire. It may not be borderline because I think they're one, maybe 2 absolutely max away from hitting the nuke button on this roster, on this team. They're going nowhere.
The whole Patriots West thing.
Like Devontae Adams is already talking to the media like, get me the hell out of here.
So is Chandler Jones apparently.
Oh, he's out of there. Yeah. No, they're classic Raiders. Josh McDaniels, joke. Jimmy, love you, but your performance against Pittsburgh was horrendous, and then you get hurt, don't play last week. I assume he's not going to play again. He might, but even if he does, I think the Packers roll him. I really do. Plus, it's even worse, those home field advantages in Vegas, when it's like the NFC team comes like once every 8 years. Like, it's like, oh, this is the one. This is the one. And like the Packers, that thing is going to be green and yellow everywhere.
Oh, yeah. All those Wisconsin folks who were like, hey, I can go to Vegas and watch the Packers. This is probably my only chance in the next 8 years. Let's do it. And they've been planning for months for this trip. I agree.
The only thing that's keeping them away is the fact that it's a Monday. If it was even keeping them away. But I don't think so.
As if anyone who lives in Vegas goes to these games. It's literally all tourists. So there we just recapped the 13 games on tap this week. We actually have buys this week, which sucks. We always want everybody to be playing every week, but the buys have come, as everybody who plays fantasy football knows. All my Seahawks, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and Kenneth Walker, they're on the bench for me this week. A lot of teams that have a lot of fantasy players are on buys, but we just recapped all 13 games. I think going forward, we like doing this where we talk about next week, and in the context of last week, we bring it up. I like that better than just kind of recapping every game from last week, especially when we record later in the week. Let's go over to your Jack and the Bum of the Week. It's every week I'm stunned. There's always so many awesome candidates. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of people who fail publicly spectacularly all the time, and it's great for content. First one I want to talk about is obviously the Oakland A's for a million reasons. As an A's super fan, I
heard about this.
Even I can admit a million reasons, but I don't know if you saw this. This is
did.
probably
I
2-week-old news. But
no, I did. My dad actually told me about it, and I was like,
"Oh my god!"
He said they were talking about it because he loves his Canadian hockey radio. They were talking about it there.
So yeah, that's what the A's get national news for. Is Miguel Cabrera, one of the greatest players in the history of baseball. He's retiring. Every stadium he goes to for the final time, they give him some kind of gift for his retirement. The A's gave him a Safeway store-bought bottle of wine that apparently is $90. Not only is that the cheapest, crummiest retirement gift you could ever give a legendary athlete, but he's a recovering alcoholic, has been very public about his struggles with alcohol. Yeah,
I didn't hear that part.
Oh my God! Everybody who's known anything about Miguel Cabrera knows that guy is someone who's been very public about, I'm sober now. It affected my life. He claimed a lot of his lack of performance in the later years of his career was because he was battling alcohol abuse. That doesn't matter to the A's, who are the biggest frickin' asleep at the wheel franchise in the history of sports. They probably told some intern, go to the store, buy a bottle of wine, keep it under $100, and we'll give it to him before the game. Tire fire franchise. They had to be mentioned for.
My main takeaway is just in general, I think these are really stupid. These just tours these players go on.
Oh, which Wainwright and yeah.
Which I think most of those players don't really they're not oh, where's my freaking tour? Unless you're Babe Ruth or really Miguel Cabrera is a really good player, Hall of Famer, but like if you're an A's player, Oakland, and like, why the you don't give a shit about Miguel Cabrera? Like, honestly, like, so if I was the A's, I'd just be like, look, man, like, sorry, we're not like you're not an A's, you know, why do you get one? Like, because wasn't it last year, maybe 2 years, like Albert Pujols goes on this tour, like, damn good player, Hall of Famer, but like, I don't know, why, like, who died and made you king? Like, I don't know, I'm so like. It is weird, but I thought it was funny that the A's got him the crappiest bottle of wine at Safeway. Like, and there's people were saying like Napa's like right here, like the greatest selection of wines in the world, and you went to Safeway and bought, you know, the Feels Great Baby brand of wine, and give it to him pregame. Like, why? Like, it would have been so much better if you just did nothing. If you literally just said the dog, if Stomper ate the wine, would have been better.
Absolutely.
And I did not know he was like a recovering. I did not know that. So that's hilarious.
Yeah. Classic Oakland A's, classic Dave Kaval and John Fisher asleep at the wheel. Bunch of bums. Continuing the candidates for Jack and the Bum of the Week, Desmond Ritter's been the worst quarterback in the NFL through 4 weeks. He got Zach Wilson off the bump there. Horrendous performance in that game in London. He's been bad for a while now. Belichick, who we mentioned earlier, his first time being mentioned in the Jack and the Bum of the Week category. I mean, when you lose 38-3 and you're a Hall of Famer, that's not something that usually happens. Even guys like Tomlin, when they have a bad loss, it's not that embarrassingly bad. The Steelers, you know, they're there for sure. The Bengals, with Burrow being hurt, that horrendous performance, and then one that if I was doing Jack and the Bum of the Week, I would have picked the Giants' offensive line. I've never seen a performance that bad in my entire life, to allow 11 sacks every time they went to pass the ball or run the ball. Like, by the time the quarterback touched the ball, there was 2 guys in the backfield. I was like, one of the worst performances I've ever seen from an offensive line. But there's one major candidate I'm omitting here from last week's events. The floor is yours.
Yeah, whenever I have one of these and there's like one that's like part, you know, play on the field and then part just like off-field stuff, I like to lean that one because I feel like it's like extra bummy than like just being bad. Like, Giants' offensive line was bad. You know, Desmond Ridder was just bad. But like, maybe if like it'd be like if Desmond Ridder like was bad and then post game was like, yeah, my offensive line just sucks and no one catches the ball. Like, maybe you make the bum of the week. But the bum of the week, the Jack and the Bum of the week this week, is the Bears. And I mean everybody. Starts at the top. Because it started week 1. This is a 4-week. This might be the quarter poll Jack and the Bum of the week. Mm-hmm. Jack and the Bum of the quarter. Week 1, Chase Claypool gives about as much effort as I do, like getting up off the couch on a Sunday to block or to like give any effort at all. And the team just does nothing. Does nothing about it. And I want to go back even further because he was only a Chicago Bear because they traded for him. They got to get Justin Fields help. Well, he's going to need more than Chase Claypool. Like giving an F- effort. They gave him a 2nd-round pick. That was pick 32 for Chase Claypool. Comes to your building.
Not even a top 40 NFL wide receiver.
Well, according to him, he's top 3. Yeah, the awful effort. But then he just kind of sits there, kind of mulls in the water a bit, and we're just like, oh, he's going to play week 2. Okay, fine. I mean, obviously they continue to lose. He's given maybe slightly better effort. 0 production. And then we get to, like, you hear Sunday morning, like, oh, the Chicago Bears, they're looking to trade him. Huh? Trade him? You sent him home. You said go away. What value? You couldn't get an empty Gatorade bottle. You couldn't get an empty recycled Gatorade bottle for Chase Claypool right now. You sent him home. And then I think post-game, the coach said, oh, no, he decided to go home on his own and we allowed it. And then somebody else, it might have been the GM, I don't know, said, no, we sent him home.
It was the GM, Ryan Pace. Yeah.
Okay. So clearly not on the same page. Like, just cut him. They should have cut him week 1. Like, what do you have to lose? Like, you're terrible. Like, that is how I think good coaches good at like turn it around. Like that shit will not be tolerated. Like not be.
And they have DJ Moore, they have Cole Kmet, they have Mooney. It's not like it's going to kill the team on the field.
Yeah, and if it does, which it wouldn't, like it is so to let everyone like, dude, we're sick and tired of losing. Like this shit is not going to be tolerated, not a chance. And they're like, oh yeah, he's fine, he'll be here next week, and then we're trying to trade him, but then send him home. We don't really know. And then yeah, they on top of all that, they blew a 28-7 lead to Denver.
Yeah,
to Denver.
24 unanswered to Denver in their current state.
To lose like their 14th straight game in a row.
Yeah, have you seen that graphic that shows, has this sports team won a game since Elon Musk bought Twitter? And it shows all 121 other professional sports teams in the United States. Yes. Chicago Bears, no. 14 in a row. They haven't won since mid-October of 2022. Believe they haven't won a game. I saw this stat last week. It was like they haven't like been a favorite at home and won since like 2020. Like it's insane how unbelievably inept they've been for the past few years. They have taken over the mantle from the Lions, right? Like they're now the Lions. Like the Lions are good, and the Bears are just always bad. Like how can it get any worse than this?
Like they're teams that are just bad, but like don't feel like as just perennially hopeless as the Chicago Bears. Like you really think about it. Like I've heard people talk about it. Like they've always had like maybe decent defense. You know, like I'm trying to think like.
Yeah, the 06 team, Rex Grossman. I mean, it was not a good offense, but the defense was
like
all time.
They might have pick 1 and 2 next year. I thought that might be Arizona, but it probably should be Chicago with them and Carolina's pick. Mm-hmm. Like, could you picture Caleb Williams working out as a Chicago Bear? Like, I mean,
even if Marvin Harrison Jr. is the pick at 2. Probably
I don't
not.
see it. I don't see it. Like I don't ever see the Chicago Bears having a good quarterback. There's nothing. It's not even like.
Well, that's because it's never happened. It's literally never happened before. Like the closest they've come to it was Jay Cutler, Jim McMahon. I mean, there hasn't been a good Bears quarterback since before games were put on TV. Like it's been that long.
Yeah, we all thought that Caleb was talking about Arizona when he said I might return to college. Or his dad was like, we might, do an Eli Manning, one of those draft day, like, we're not playing for you. We're like, oh, sorry, man, that sucks, Michael Bidwell. That sucks, Arizona. No, it might have been the Bears.
Yeah, this whole time it was the Bears. So there it is, Joey's Jackin' dub-bum of the week.
Yeah, dub-bum.
It's Bears after that listless performance in the second half, blowing a 28-7 lead after Fields' best game as a pro in the first half and overall. I mean, his best game by far as a pro, and boom, the defense just completely shits their pants. Fields fumbles at the end of the second half. The Bears lose 14 in a row, 0-4. Tire fire right now. The Bears, Joey's jacking the bum of the week. Let's head over to my You Like That picks. We're 11-8-1 so far in 2023. We took a step back last week with our first losing week of the year. We went 2-3. Still, 3 games over 500. Doing pretty well. Pretty confident in the way we view the games. I made a couple switches from my original 5 picks to my current 5 picks. So I originally had Pittsburgh +5. I also had an over in the Green Bay Las Vegas game. However, after our breakdown of these games earlier, I've made a couple switches. Houston +2 is a must for me, for you, everybody who has access to betting should put a couple bucks on Houston +2 here. DeMeco Ryans has that team playing so hard. CJ Stroud looks great. He's not turning the ball over. I mean, the defense, even with not a lot of top end talent other than their draft pick from last year, it's looked really competent. They held the Steelers to 6 points. I know it's the Steelers, but 6 points it's really impressive. And their win against Jacksonville, 20-point win on the road against a team that a lot of people picked to be one of the, Final Four in the AFC. I've been so impressed with Houston. I think that's a must. I think Arizona +3 is a must, given how bad Cincinnati's been. Unless Burrow is just 100% healthy for this game, and unless T. Higgins magically plays, doesn't look like he's going to, unless Jamar Chase is done with his I'm always open antics. It looks like a tire fire there in Cincinnati, so I like Arizona +3. You got me on Miami -11. You think, you said they're going to score 80. I don't know why I make this more complicated than it needs to be. Miami's going to roll in that game, right?
I don't see how possibly they... even if the backup comes in, like, even if Tua gets hurt, the Giants are reeling right now. Reeling. And playing...
If they get Barkley back, what difference does it make?
Yeah, it's not going to... Does he block? No. No. I know a lot of times you see, like, minus, like, double digits, you're like, whoa. But, like, Miami's...
There's a reason. Yeah. If the Giants ruin this bet for us, that means they scored 24 plus points, and I don't think that's going to happen given the way their offensive
24 ain't going to win it.
No, but to screw our -11.
Oh, I don't think that's going to screw that either.
So you heard it here. Joey says,
you don't like even if they do score 24, like you don't think Miami scored 35 at home?
I think they're going to put up a lot. And the crazy thing is if anybody gets hurt other than Tyreek, it doesn't really matter. I guess he pronounces his name Achan. Devin Achan is just absolutely unstoppable. Mostert is amazing. Jalen Waddle's amazing. They got the tight end catching passes. They got Braxton Berrios catching passes. They got River Craycraft catching a touchdown. Doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Mike McDaniel's just dicking around at this point and scoring 40 points. My fourth pick is going to be the Niners -3.5. I want this to be -3 so bad, but it looks like it's just not going to get there. I'll take the Niners -3.5 at home. I haven't seen anything in any of Brock Purdy's regular season starts to think that they won't at least have a chance to win this game by 4 or more points. At least they'll have that opportunity late in the fourth quarter. And then you got me on Green Bay -1 at Vegas. I like that. I like that Vegas has gotten worse and worse each week, and they have a question at quarterback. You made the point about Green Bay going to have a ton of home fans for this game in Vegas. Green Bay's better. Their coach is better. Quarterback is not great, but he's better than
Jordan Love did look pretty bad first half, especially against Detroit.
Yeah, but he's playing against a wagon in Detroit. I don't know. I feel like that's just a solid bet. There's a reason that this
it's only
Green
one.
Bay -1.
Like, if you think you're going to beat them, yeah, they're going to win.
I think they beat them. All right, there it is. You like that picks for Week 5 in the NFL. We're 11-8-1 so far in 2023, looking to improve on that. We're going with Houston +2 at Atlanta. We're going with Arizona +3 at home against Cincinnati. We're going Miami -11 at home against the lowly Giants. We're going SF -3.5 at home on Sunday Night Football against Dallas. And then the big one on Monday Night Football. That probably not as big as the one on Sunday Night Football, but for those of us who are betting these games, Green Bay -1 on Monday night, they're in Vegas. There they are, your 5. You like that picks of the week. Joey, it's time to wrap up the pod with your feels great baby, your wildest take you feel best about currently. We debated going back and forth on a couple things here, but you're going with one of our favorite guys in the NFL. You think he's turned his ship around down there, down south.
I feel pretty great about the Houston Texans winning the AFC South. They look.
By the
really
way,
good.
I looked at it. They were +850 before the season to win the AFC South. Huge underdog.
They look really good. Just looking at their schedule here, like you could tell the coach is really good. Like, how fast do you turn around like your side of the ball? So like DeMeco, right? He's given up 9 to the Baltimore, 6 to Pittsburgh, and 20 and 17 each to Colts and Jaguars. So, he's given up, what is that, 15 points a game?
Mm-hmm.
About. But you just look at their schedule. Like, what of these games is, like, are they not, like, at least in it, if not favored? Okay, they get Atlanta, New Orleans, Carolina, Tampa.
Yeah.
The Bengals would have been a big game, but I don't know. Arizona, Jaguars, they already beat them once. Denver, the Jets.
Yeah.
They do get the Titans 2 out of the last 4 of the year, and they have Cleveland and then the Colts. But
literally none of those games. Not even the Cincy one.
No. Like, they're going to be either favored or in it. Like, maybe the Cleveland one, like, but like, do I? No, I don't. I have no faith that, like, Deshaun will be healthy or good. Like, I think Cleveland's defense is pretty good, but, like, no,
there's no games on there like at Kansas City, at Buffalo, at Miami, or against, the Niners or whatever. Like, that's a cakewalk schedule. For them to get to 9-8, they can do it.
I think they finished better than 9-8. I mean, they might go like 10, 11 wins.
Be insane. He would win Coach of the Year for sure. If
it's just weird, such a weird division with. I mean, everyone's 2-2. 17 points against 79. I guess that is 20. How does that make sense?
Look at Joey doing live math on the pod.
Am I like
this is
stupid? It says Houston's allowed 79 points this season. Divided by 4, it's like 20 points a game.
Yeah, I think you miscounted their first game against Baltimore because you said they only gave up 9 to Baltimore.
I'm looking at. Oh yeah, stupid idiot.
But still, under 20 points a game on a team that I think was probably allowing close to 30 a game last year. Incredible turnaround from DeMeco. And that division's been wild, right? Jacksonville is a lot worse than everybody thought, and Indy and, the Texans are way better than everyone thought.
Yeah, so they did lose to the Colts. Okay. Yeah, I read that totally wrong. But even, like, conversely, look at their offense. They won with 37 against the Jaguars. They won with 30 against Pittsburgh. C.J. Stroud has proved me wrong. I thought he was just the next Ohio State guy to just fail in the NFL, but boy, is he off to a good start. Holy smokes. Yeah.
A lot of people looking at that decision to take Bryce Young over C.J.
He
Stroud
looks really small right now. He looks small. Like, the couple times I saw Harrison Smith sack him, it's like, oh my God. Is he getting up? Like, that's Harrison Smith.
And that's Harrison Smith. This isn't a 300-pounder. This is a relatively lanky safety.
The thing is, like, everyone told us, like, oh, he's super smart. He's not going to get hit. Like, he was hit square twice by a safety.
Yeah, corner blitzes all over the place have just been getting to him in every game he's played in. Almost like Daniel Jones in that game with Witherspoon from the Seahawks just coming off the edge. It's been crazy. I mean, and you the point you make about C.J. Stroud is, of all the quarterbacks, I feel like in the last 3 or 4 drafts, we've been mostly right about all of them. This is one that we got way wrong. Like, you liked Anthony Richardson, he's definitely going to pan out. You didn't like Bryce Young, he's not going to really pan out. We didn't like Levis, he's probably not going to pan out. But this one, we were not in on Stroud, and man, does he look good. DeMeco's coaching him up.
Yeah. I know he's a defensive guy, but he gets credit for, I'm sure I don't believe when they say he's a defensive head coach, like, he provides nothing to that. What does he do? Just not go to the meetings? He's a head coach. Like, he has to know something about offense. But even if he doesn't, he hires the staff. And you get credit for that. The same way Sean Payton should get crapped on for hiring Vance Joseph as abomination. Like, that's Sean Payton's hire. Mm-hmm. DeMeco hired, I think he took the Niners' Bobby Slowick as offensive coordinator. Yeah, he gets credit for that. He gets credit for bringing in guys that are going to, help out the team culture. Like, I know Jimmy Ward was a big one for him with the Niners, and I think there were a couple other ones.
Robert Woods.
Yeah, exactly. Guys that
watch the sideline on a Houston game. I've noticed this in the Jacksonville game. I noticed this in the Pittsburgh game. Watch that sideline. Anytime anyone makes a play, it could be a run that gets stuffed for a 1-yard gain for the other team. That sideline goes nuts. Like, they are playing.
I think it matters because, like, Robert Saleh was a big rah-rah guy on the sideline defense. Same thing with DeMeco. They coached. They were coordinating on the sideline. I've seen this year Steve Wilkes is like, I know he's a bit older, but like, he's up in the press box. Like, he's probably a good defensive coordinator. I like him. I think the Niners defense has been fine. But, like, I miss having Saleh or, like, DeMeco, like, fired up and, like, smacking shoulder pads and stuff with the players on the sideline. It brings the juice. And the Texans got a lot of juice right now.
A ton of juice. They had a fullback run a kickoff back for a touchdown a few weeks ago. That kind of stuff doesn't happen if you don't have positive vibes going down there in Houston. So you think they can win the AFC South. I like that. I think that's a good call, especially the way Jacksonville's been playing.
Yeah.
Jacksonville's got to play, Buffalo and Kansas City, or they already lost to Kansas City.
Bet Buffalo this week.
Yeah.
Like, the Texans do not have a game that on their schedule anywhere near Buffalo.
Yeah, so you think Houston can get to 10-plus wins. That's a wild take. I think
that's coach of the year. If he gets them 10, that's coach.
Oh. And we've for multiple years talked about how much we like DeMeco. He was a great leader when he was on the Texans as a player and on the Eagles as a player. Great leader of the Niners defense. After Saleh left, they basically did not lose a step. And now look at him.
Everyone was like, "What are you gonna do? Who are you gonna hire? Like, where are you gonna go? Are you gonna hire outside?" And we're like, "No, we're good."
No, we got DeMeco, and man, hats off to him. One of the MVPs of the early part of the season, a guy who's turned around a franchise that really, since the Deshaun Watson stuff started coming through, that franchise has been one of the worst in sports, and now all it takes is like an inspirational leader like him. So hats off to you, DeMeco.
You know who could have had him? You know who could have had him? I don't think he would have taken the job. I think he's from Houston. His wife met his wife there, but drafted there. I don't know if he's from there, but drafted there. His wife's from there. He interviewed for the Denver job. How's that working out?
How's that working out for you, Denver? You got Sean Payton. So there it is. Joey's Feels Great Baby wild take. Houston will win the AFC South. Time to wrap up the pod. One last thing before we go. We always talk about something outside the NFL. Lots of stuff to talk about as, basketball and hockey are starting. We have to talk about the MLB playoffs because there was a story yesterday that we got to talk about. So Tampa Bay won 99 games. This is the equivalent of being, 13-4 in the NFL. This is just a great team, like a great on-the-field team. Yesterday, they opened the playoffs in the wild card round against the Texas Rangers. Fewer than 20,000 people showed up for that game. Now, I know it's on a Tuesday, but all these stories about, hey, we changed the rules of baseball to bring people in and, we're doing everything we can to grow this game and save the game. That's a failure by you, Rob Manfred. One of your playoff games was played yesterday with, quote-unquote, 19,000 people in the stands. It was way less than that if you watched the game. There was shots of the upper deck where every seat was empty. For a playoff game in your sport, screw you, Rob Manfred. Look what you've done to your game. Unbelievable.
I think big picture, I don't want to say baseball's in trouble, but it's just been consistently year after year, just the coverage, just even people around, it's just not on anyone's mind other than diehard fans. And I agree with you 1,000,000%. There's no reason to play. I don't know why these sports, hockey does the same thing kind of, but it's hard to do it in the first rounds because there's more teams. But this notion that there has to be one playoff game on at one time, you're not the NFL. Your schedule doesn't work like that. Mm-hmm. Put the game on it do something creative. Have one on ESPN.
Literally,
ESPN
the only
2.
thing that moves the needle is Ohtani, and he's not there. So why schedule it like that?
I was looking at the teams too. It does suck for Major League Baseball that it is Tampa, Baltimore, Minnesota, Toronto, I think Texas, and Houston. There's no Yankees, there's no Red Sox, and people want to that matters because They do move the needle more than the Tampa Bay Rays. No Yankees, no Red Sox, no
Ohtani, no Trout.
Yeah.
No big names.
But yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know what's going to fix baseball. I have an idea. I would redo the entire schedule. I would shorten it. You can't play hundreds. You can't do it.
It devalues the product to play that many.
I just was watching. I watched a little bit of it, in the background of of work yesterday. You play 162 games, you win. Like you said, Tampa won 99 games, and you have to it's 2 days and you're done.
Yeah,
it could be, maybe not, but 2 days, or even you lose 2 out of 3, 3 days, you're done.
Yeah, Tampa's done. They're done less than 36 hours.
Are they? I haven't even looked. Are they losing again today?
They lost. They were swept by Texas. Yeah.
What is the point? I think baseball is could maybe go the college baseball. The college baseball, you have the regionals, the super regionals, then you the playoffs are quite long.
Right.
I wonder if you did a baseball regular season of 3 months, right? April, May, June, and you made July and August and end this shit before football starts.
That's not a bad idea. Obviously, the owners won't go for it because it's less.
It's less game, less money. But urgency creates eyeballs, and there is no urgency One when there's 160. Like you're like, oh bummer, your team lost. It's like, is it a bummer because they play again tomorrow? And they play again after that.
161 more.
Like urgency, like create urgency for fans to go to the games, urgency for them to watch. And then again, golf did it, and I think it really helped. For the most part, golf moved their shit up to end before football. You cannot be playing baseball in November or late October. Can't happen. Like I can't, it's too much.
Even when they schedule the World Series every year is Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then again Tuesday, Wednesday, so that they avoid football as much as they possibly can. But just by virtue of playing,
like
these
honestly,
games in October, nobody
cares.
cares.
If the World Series, I'm not gonna say like I think people would obviously talk about it if it was like Yankees, Dodgers, right? But like more than likely you're gonna get a solid good team. Like you could get, say you get Minnesota or Baltimore in the World Series against who's it, like Philly?
Milwaukee.
Yeah. Do you really think ESPN is going to talk about that more than they're going to talk about maybe James Harden not showing up to practice, or like Steph Curry if he took a shit that day, or like anything happening in the NFL? No.
Literally the only way it would happen is if Ohtani was in the World Series.
I read something that Major League Baseball got really upset at ESPN because ESPN is like one of their big, obviously. I know Fox has like World Series and stuff, but like that Stephen A. Smith was like, basically said, like baseball, like whatever, who gives a shit? Like one of their main people, ESPN, is like just crapping on the sport. Mm-hmm. And like, I agree, it's probably not great. Like, I wish First Take and like those types of shows talked. I mean, like I love football, but like, I mean, if you notice, they never ever talk about baseball unless Shohei Ohtani hits 3 home runs and throws a no hitter. They might talk about him. Like, and it just goes back like should they talk about him? Like, do they have to? Like maybe, like, but they're in the business of creating of viewers. And like what people, they put on what people want to watch. And if people turn off the TV, if they start talking about baseball, that's not ESPN's fault. Like, that's baseball. And my suggestion, which they wouldn't do it because like you said, you lose money. I think you lose money in the short term, but I think you'll get more money than if you just keep doing this crap. Like, you have to start it in April, go April, May, June. July, you have like, I mean, put like others, fine, put other sports, put 8 teams, 6 or 7, 8 teams in the playoffs and have them go like a best of, play a week, play like a 7-game series. And like, okay, you move on. Like, I don't know how buys could work with baseball because like you stop swinging a bat for like 2 weeks, like you're screwed.
Yeah, do the All-Star game at the end of June and then have like a 3 or 4 week pennant race and then have August be all the playoff games. I love that idea. Anything to shorten the season. They've already shortened the games, which that was step one. You can't have a 4-hour game.
I remember we did a podcast last year, like you argued, and I agreed with it. Like, would you get a really good baseball game that matters? People will watch for 5 hours. Mm-hmm. Like, you get like a 12, 13 inning World Series playoff game, like people are glued to it. Mm-hmm. It's just like the problem is like how many big games in the entire Major League Baseball season are there really?
Yeah, there's 2,430 games in a Major League season. Maybe like 12 regular season
Maybe like a
games
couple at the end of the season this year where it's like, oh, they're 1 game back of like this. It's like, okay, might watch. But like, I don't know. Like, did you watch the playoff games?
It's again, just like
if you're not watching it, that's a problem.
Yeah. I mean,
if I'm not watching hockey,
baseball,
it's a problem. Like, the Sharks start next week, I almost forgot. That's a problem. Like, if you can't get me to care, you can't get anyone to care. And
they're losing core consumers for sure.
I think baseball has a huge problem because it is. And I think it could sell to the young. I really do. Like, I don't. Baseball was fun. I loved baseball.
It was. And now look, I mean, from all the stuff happening with the A's and Manfred aiding and abetting the freaking loss of the Oakland A's to Las Vegas, and then, these changes to the game that are supposedly trying to speed the game. I don't know. Everything about baseball right now is viewed in a negative light. Really tough. I mean, I put it on there as what I wanted to close the pod with, just because, like, do you remember what the baseball playoffs were like when we were like 10,
they were
12,
my favorite thing.
14 years old? I mean, the best. And now it's like, it's on ambulantly.
It wasn't even that long ago. You know, like I remember
even like 2013, 2014.
Like those, like I remember when the A's played the Tigers. You know, first in the wild card or whatever division it was.
Division series, yeah.
And like the Coco Crisp walk-off game, like you had like the radio call with Ray Fawcett, like Sonny Gray going toe to toe with Justin Verlander. Like that's the thing, but that's the thing. Like I don't put all of it on Rob Manfred. Like this opener shit. Like cut the shit. Stop doing it. Like. People want to see Sonny Gray in primetime go up against Justin Verlander for 7-8 innings. Stop with the opener and gets him out after inning and a third. It's stupid. No one cares. Like this analytics are killing baseball.
Yeah.
Killing it.
Or even has killed. I mean, when
you're right. It might be dead. Because who doesn't love the long ball? Like all this launch, exit velo, launch angle. It's like, you know what people loved? When the stadium's jacked, it's first and second, and like someone shoots a gapper off the right, like, and it's like we got base runners, everything. Like, no, it's like now we're sending the batter up. It's like you better either hit a home run or walk or strike out because you tried to hit a home run. That's it. Like that's it.
Yeah. Tough spot for baseball. I really hope they find a way to kind of like bring the product back to the national audience. It's been a long time since like people, at large have cared about MLB. I just wanted to bring that up. It's like, it's October. It's baseball playoff time. Nobody, like not a soul that I know is talking about playoff baseball. So MLB playoffs, who gives a shit? That was the
baseball.
final
I
topic.
remember even being in elementary, like middle school, like junior high, like when the A's played the Giants, it was the biggest sports thing in school.
In the Bay Area. It was all they talked about on Bay Area sports radio. It was everything. Everybody at school.
But like you had half the class
buddies.
like root for half the class of Giants fans or whatever. It's like I don't even think people even know the A's exist.
And the Giants are at an all-time low too in interest. Their attendance this year was their lowest ever at Pac-Bell Park. They missed the playoffs. So baseball, get your shit together, man. I mean, try to get to what you were. Shorten the season, make the product more valuable. Great idea.
And I would tell the NFL. I would tell every sport, like NFL, like you went to 17 games. Like I know you're going to 18, but like 16 was nice.
Yeah. Don't always need to have more playoff teams and more playoff games and more games in the regular season. Quit devaluing your product, baseball. Thanks everybody for joining us. Another episode in the books. We love doing these with you every week. We'll be back again next week to recap Week 5, give you a preview of Week 6, give you 5 more bets. Awesome feedback from a lot of folks this week who were like, hey, where's the pod? Because we were a couple days late. So I appreciate everybody who texts us and who watches on YouTube, who listens on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review, like, rate, and subscribe, as those YouTubers say. Appreciate everybody listening. And, we'll talk to you again next week.